Okay, I want to ask you about places now. Tell me about because you work with collaborators based in a bunch of places, right? So, what has Banff meant to you and to this album?
Banff is everything. It's an overwhelmingly beautiful place, and when you fill it with incredible creative people, it's just it's so empowering, and I think it's so empowering because it's so process driven. It was the first time the that as an artist you feel valued for just being a creative person and thinking creatively. It's just about how do you make that? Like that's the part that no one sees, and that's how we spend 99% of our time as artists. And this was the first place. Like I went to music school and this was the first place where I was like, this is important. Um but what also Banff was really important because of this really special conversation I had with Jerry Granelli, who is an amazing drummer. He was the drummer on the Vince Guaraldi Christmas record, is like the most famous. And he was, I think, 82 at the time. And we had this conversation. You know how Banff works. There are these amazing guest faculty that come in, and you can sign up for one-on-one time, and you can do whatever you want to do. You can play, you can listen. We grabbed a coffee and went for a walk, and
Hmm.
it was it was the best. We sort of started talking about lineage. He said, I'm approaching 85, and my role as an artist is different than it is for someone your age. He sort of created this visual in my head of, we learn about history because we need to study the greats and understand how we sort of woke up into this world where music exists. Like how did we get to this? And this idea of there's sort of a line, like there's almost like a river, and this is how we make music, and then every once in a while an amazing artist comes and is like a tree that falls down, and all of a sudden there's also this other way to make it. And he said, there are all those people behind us. We have this time right now where we wake up and there's this music, and we get to try and shape what happens, and then you pass it on to the next generation, and that's your role. That's what we do here. We're a part of this huge lineage. And he said, as an 85-year-old, I'm more worried about what music looks like. Like it's knowledge transfer now. I want
Yeah,
the next generation to sort of learn from what I've learned and to be able to pass this lineage forward. Like that's my role. And I thought this was such an amazing concept. And it also equally described sort of your ancestry, like
hmm,
thinking about the line of McKenna's or Mackay's for myself, and the line of women, and we're sort of, it's the same thing. Like we think about the people who made choices and sacrifices to get us to just exist in this world that we exist, and then there will be more behind us, and those are all like, that is all equally important. And so that sort of expanded into the way I see everything. I'm like, well, there's a line for everything. There's a line for tennis players, and there's a line for farmers, and there's a line for, female composers and female bass players, and like all of these things. And so you're kind of connected to everything, but what makes you unique is where like all the ones that you identify with cross.
that's right.
And that conversation, I couldn't, it replayed in my head for years. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's so brilliant. And that's sort of another theme that this record is trying to convey, is that sort of concept, I guess.
I felt that pretty powerfully, just like in the way that you show up as yourself on this album. Like it's like nothing else, which is to what you've been saying. I think that's what we're supposed to do as artists. Like just stand in that. Like this is who I am. This is my unique contribution to the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. It feels like it feels like the first time I've written honest music, which
Mm,
is big for me.
awesome.